Now to the Middle East, with the U.S. and Iran wrapping up indirect negotiations in Doha, Qatar. President Trump and mediators out of Qatar and Pakistan all reporting progress. Those talks aimed at advancing an earlier memorandum of understanding. For the latest, Trey Yingst picks it up from there, live today again in Tel Aviv. And Trey, good day to you.
Yeah, hey, Bill, good morning. Mediators in Qatar announced that the technical talks on Wednesday made positive progress as the memorandum of understanding moves forward. The Iranians are already starting to admit that some nuclear inspections will take place. Other officials talked about the sanctions relief and the dollars the Iranians will receive, saying that some will be used to buy goods for the Iranian people. President Trump was asked about the status of negotiations yesterday.
As far as things are going, the denuclearization of Iran is moving along well. They've had very good meetings. I think they've come a long way. We hit them very hard last week. I think they're fine. I think we're going to, it's the denuclearization of Iran. It's very simple. And Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon.
As diplomacy plays out, U.S. forces remain in the region. The U.S. Navy announced that a crew member from an MH-60S Seahawk helicopter is missing after an emergency water landing in the Arabian Sea. U.S. Naval Forces Central Command posted to X saying there is no indication the emergency was caused by hostile action. 3 of the helicopter's 4 crew members have been rescued and are in stable condition aboard George H.W. Bush. U.S. Navy assets in the region are currently searching for other air crewmen still missing. The cause of the incident is under investigation. As the Middle East waits to see what comes next in the ceasefire with Iran, Israel is marking 1,000 days since the October 7th massacre. A rally was held outside of the Knesset today, Israel's parliament, to call for accountability in the aftermath of the attack.
We demand an official commission of inquiry by the Israeli government to investigate an independent commission of inquiry to uncover what happened and what policies led to this terrible tragedy, this massacre on October 7th.
A lot of moving parts in the Middle East right now, but there is hope across the region. The current negotiations could lead to a quieter period. Bill?
Okay, let's hope for that. Trey Yingst, thanks, live in Tel Aviv. Good to see you, Trey. Thank you.
I want to bring in Rebeccah Heinrichs, senior fellow at the Hudson Institute. And so great to see you in person.
Yes.
Thanks for making the trip over to see us. The Wall Street Journal says this: Trump pledged no forever wars. Now he risks forever talks with Tehran. Tehran has well-worn playbook for putting off concessions that cross its wed lines. I mean, Tehran will try to do this, but at the same time, the Strait seems to be at least moving more ships through?
But only because the United States Navy is forcing ships to be able to go through. The Iranians are not cooperating at all. So we are on day 15 of this 60-day memorandum of understanding to try to get to a final deal. The 2 big things that the United States wants more than anything is for the Iranians to cooperate to let free passage to the Strait. The Iranians are still insisting that all ships consult with them and go through their passageway because they do want to collect fees and tolls at the end of this 60 days. The United States says no, so ships are going through our way. That's why Iran continues to fire on ships and then also firing on our allies, Bahrain and Kuwait, which just happened over the weekend.
But the Iranians pick their moments. I get the sense that the U.S. wants to continue to put the temperature down, make it lower, but Iran every 3 or 4 days will do something to suck us right back in. Is that the pattern that we're going to find for weeks and months to come?
We should expect that pattern. We should expect the Iranians to make the MOU very, not only difficult for the United States, but difficult for President Trump politically. They're not going to make this easy for him as they go into this election. The other thing I would just flag is that we are going to now witness the funeral for the Supreme Leader that the Iranians have not done yet. That begins Friday. So Americans are now going to see death to America, death to Israel, all of these signs reminding Americans who this regime really is, which is a regime committed to our destruction and the destruction of our allies in the region.
Can I ask you something, though? Because the question was, should we expect it? Yes. Should we accept it?
Yeah. No. I mean, this is not a regime that's going to cooperate with the United States. This is not a regime that's sort of acting one way, but then sincerely, privately.
How do you break the law? How do you break the cycle?
I mean, I think President Trump is right to keep U.S. forces in the region. The Iranians are demanding that we unfreeze funds so that they can reconstitute their forces, and they want the U.S. Navy to leave the region. President Trump is keeping forces there because I think he understands that these talks are not ultimately going to get us what we want. I do think military force is going to be the only way to finally get the IRGC out of the Strait of Hormuz for the United States to continue moving.
So the U.S. Ambassador NATO, Matt Whitaker, was on Fox and Friends earlier today. Here's how he described the mood of the president, what happened with Epic Fury.
President Trump was very frustrated during Epic Fury, especially at the start where we had either allies that didn't cooperate with our use of our own bases or even and more importantly, were very negative on the efforts politically with their statements. We have to make sure that our allies are with us politically and militarily at all times, because that's how, we're strong and capable as ourselves, but we are stronger and even more capable when our allies are alongside of us.
Here's by the weeks as they pass, more and more of those allies are offering support.
Yeah.
Do you think that's true now?
No, they are offering support. And the other thing, I understand President Trump's frustration in the beginning of the war, but Operation Epic Fury would not have been possible had our European allies not provided access to their bases. So there was a little bit of a hiccup with the Brits in the very beginning, but then pretty immediately they did provide. And the Italians and the Germans, that's where we were operating out of. And the French were permitting the United States to fly into France regularly as well. And the Brits were also providing air defense, as were the French. And so I think President Trump's frustrated. He wants the Europeans to do more, but we should not forget that we do need as many allies as possible right now.
Can I ask, I know we're out of time, but I do want to ask, because there's reporting about the tension between President Trump and the Saudis. And that's also another ally, but that's closer to the region. So what do we know about that?
So the Saudis actually did deny the United States overflight because they were upset that President Trump initiated Project Freedom, which was to force our way through the strait. So the Saudis have actually been a bigger problem in that key moment than we've actually seen relative to the Europeans.
Well, a lot of moving parts. Rebeccah, thanks for following it, and happy birthday.
Yes, enjoy it with your children.
Happy Independence Day.
Cool. Thanks,
Lucky
Rebeccah.
to have you as a
Be sure to like and subscribe for all the Fox News latest on YouTube and catch full shows streaming now on Fox One.